Right, I'm the artist taxi driver, and ladies and gentlemen, I've written something. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the man, the spiritual fucking being, the one with the golden soul, where every word, every utterance is like sitting in front of fucking Siddhartha. The prophet. He's a prophet.
The fucking neighbours think that we're fucking nuts, mate.
They won't hear it. The enlightened being, the sentinel of truth, Frankie fucking Boyle. Hey? What's the meaning of life, Frankie?
I think the meaning of life is that possibly the universe is conscious, and that we're all just various different types of receiver for this kind of universal consciousness, and probably humans are quite a good and bold receiver for it. What,
like the Matrix?
No, more like Vedanta Hinduism. I'm pretty much a Vedanta Hindu.
Well, what's that?
It's just they sort of believe that all creation is divine, and that basically we're just God playing a game of hide and seek with himself.
So inside our minds, inside our nuts, everything that goes on in there is all connected with everybody else's.
Not so much as just it's actually is itself. So like they would think Jesus going, you can look for me in this rock. That's essentially Vedanta.
What? Why do we go to work? We were talking earlier about working. Why do we go to work?
Insecurity. There's a thing years ago. This guy, comedian Steve Hughes, and I was saying to him, I just got a fucking big bill in or something, and I said, God, it just shows you have to keep working on your fucked, don't you? And Steve went, no, we have to keep working on their fucked. If we didn't go into work.
Who's that? The Queen?
Yeah, but there'd be fucking Harrier jump jets in the street tomorrow if nobody went into work.
Well, the Queen, like we were talking, you said to me earlier, the Queen doesn't like to be challenged, or the Queen is frugal. Was Nicholas Witchell?
That's pretty amazing.
Now we was also talking about the moon being hollow.
That's David Icke's list.
Yeah, and the reptiles feeding off of our pain. What's with the fucking Queen? What's her gig?
Well, they're just a sort of pageantry. And all that stuff, all the kind of show off elements of royalty sort of come along as they decreased in official power, and their power is as part of the spectacle. So they paint with broader strokes now, and we have these big giant weddings and births and so on. But really, they're this incredibly conservative force, reinforcing the British class system. And that's why they're tolerated. The idea that we have hierarchies, which of course we don't.
But I mean, she's a hairy, goat-legged fucker. Who she's skull fucking the country. She's we said it. She's feeding off our pain.
That's the best case scenario. If she actually was a lizard skull fucking people, it would be better than what she's doing in reality, which is like presiding over this fucking incredibly unequal society as a figurehead of this incredibly unequal society. And the greatest trick of the royals is they've convinced people of their own irrelevance. I mean, if you do a joke about the fucking royals now, people are like, oh, that's a bit passé, isn't it? And you're like, they own half the fucking country. They take a considerable proportion of the fucking wealth of the country, and you consider that irrelevant. It's a bit like they're really what their shtick is. They're a bit like stage magicians. And really, that look on their face that you try and place when you see them at the fucking weddings and stuff, that's just a really shit magician who can't believe how well this is going,
But they're like okay, she's connected to God. David Aronovich said she has direct correspondence with God. she has a Geordie Cockney army, Balmoral, Sandringham, Buckingham Palace, best real estate. She's got like fucking knights, lords. She's got money. She's got gold. She owns mines. She owns land. 52 nations. But she's powerless. How does that work?
Sure, but also I mean they are powerful. And there's that whole thing. I mean, like Abu Hamza. She talks to the government about why is Abu Hamza still in the country and stuff like that. They're not politically disengaged. Of course, they're not.
But they you've got. She's the most powerful person in the world. Barack Obama. It's just an office. You know, this is a birthright. We got Prince fucking George, mate. He's got 50 armed bodyguards around him.
Well, the Director General of the BBC had to stand down because a show was edited to look like she stormed out of a meeting in a huff when actually she stormed into it in a huff. You know, that gives you some idea of the level of power. And it's bizarre because it's, you know, it's surreal. We live in a supposedly egalitarian society. We live in a supposed democracy, and you know we have a completely
it's like where's the wizards and the centaurs? What about you was talking last night? Agnostic Christians. Who are they?
The Gnostics.
Yeah.
The Gnostics were like an early Christian sect who believed that this was hell, like our earth was hell, and that basically that our pain was being fed off by a thing called the demiurge. So the earth wasn't created by God, it was created by this kind of demonic, satanic force called the demiurge, who fed off all our pain.
Prince Harry. What about Prince Harry?
Prince Harry, man. What the idea of selling someone as a murderer is quite interesting. Do you know what I mean? That they've thought of that in PR terms and thought, well, how can we punt this guy up as a mass murderer of people in other countries? Yeah, fuck it. Send him in a fucking.
And they brought in that gaming angle as well. That he was just gaming and.
Jesus, I mean,
he said he was a Taliban leader that he killed, but apparently it was just some children collecting firewood. But no one knew. But
I mean, the idea that that's a considered publicity gambit. I kill, you know, seems pretty amazing.
But they quite like it that he's out in Las Vegas, like gambling and that. There was a lot of, you know, if you're looking at the newspaper and seeing that, a lot of people think, lucky fucking get.
Yeah, well, I bet after the fucking Vegas thing, I bet the first conversation he had with security was, "What? Someone let those girls live? who fucking slept up here?"
Prince George.
Well, you know, you just have more generations of it until people fucking wake up, won't you? He's got fucking 50 armed bodyguards.
This is never
the reason for that
is
that he can lock a bodyguard with a kind of unearthly stare, and they'll slowly start to put their fucking gun into their mouth. So they need to have 50 around him. And in the Omen, it was just a fucking Rottweiler.
Yeah, they'll all be chipped. Kate Middleton. What was that thing about? Like you said something about her tits.
Was it the only reason she's pregnant was because her tits aren't worth fucking finishing on?
Yeah. Some people felt that was a bit rude because Kate is quintessentially
a sort of. There's a new thing, isn't there, in sort of a new whole range of kind of Stepford role models held up for women of just utter passivity and almost on the level of a fucking sex doll or something. There's actually nothing that you could latch onto her in her public presentation that seems in any way human or.
Well, the Queen and Prince Philip's, they're first cousins, aren't they? That's why they've got those really big ears. And I think they brought in Diana and now Kate just to sort of like mix up the gene pool a little bit. What about the Sun and Rupert Murdoch?
I think that we were talking last night about this. There was an interesting article. I forget who wrote this, but some guy wrote an article about Rupert Murdoch's probably in the middle of a list of evil people that you want owning newspapers, because like there aren't a long list of good people who want to own media. Do you know what I mean? And so this guy was saying Murdoch's probably kind of halfway up because he doesn't have any other corporate interests. So most people who are like media moguls, like Ted Turner, whoever, they have industrial interests, so they're climate change deniers. And Murdoch's just a guy who's in media, so he doesn't deny climate change. But really, the heart of all that is that there's this idea of public opinion that's controlled by people like Murdoch. I think that's the real sort of cancer in it. So the idea of, the public are outraged by this, or the public think this, or whatever that you see in newspapers and you see on television, that's not the public. It's not the public's opinion. That's Rupert Murdoch's opinion. Yeah. That's the BBC News Agenda's opinion, and so on. Rupert's
on fucking top, mate. I'm telling you, right? Down the bottom, he's number one. There's only the Queen in front of him. He is fucking the Queen. I'm telling you, Rupert Murdoch is on top, and he's fucking the Queen. Right? TV is God. TV is God.
Well, did you see the articles yesterday? So there was a thing about the TV in the living room is making a comeback.
Yeah.
And this is all presented as like, so in the Guardian and the BBC, this is all presented as a good thing. Families are getting together, and what they mean is people are in their living rooms, crowded around the fucking TV with their fucking smartphones, and that this connectivity has brought people back together. So we all sit in the same room, fucking completely atomised from each other, fucking, you know, watching things in our handsets. It seems to be an absolute nightmare.
Watching the BBC is like sitting in front of a gun. Okay, the BBC, pedophiles, Jimmy Savile. But, I mean, the whole thing about the BBC is that it's an authoritative voice, isn't it? So, I mean, there's a lot of bias and things that people saying that, like, they're co-conspirating with the government.
Well, I think there's a lot of unconscious bias. You've got to think of it in terms of that. It's like there's a lot of good people in the BBC who are trying to do in their terms a good job, and you meet some brilliant people in there who are actually trying to get something brilliant on there. But there's also the thing of there's a lot of assumptions in any society, and when you come at something like the BBC, obviously those get fucking distilled into an ethos.
The BBC, they're a bunch of skull fuckers. They're all Freemasons. They're all like they're sitting there, oranges. We'll be back soon for part 2 with the fucking the guru, the prophet, Frankie fucking Boyle.